Hey, friend. Welcome to Purpose Unlocked, the space where dreamers, doers, and changemakers like you come to build legacies that truly matter. I'm Christy Smith, your anti cookie cutter coach, sustainable legacy builder, and author of The Intuitive Entrepreneur, here to help you build a business that doesn't just look good on paper, but feels good in your bones. If you've ever felt that quiet pull for more purpose, more freedom, more impact, you're in the right place. Every week, we'll have real, unfiltered conversations about what it takes to build a purpose driven business and a life that actually feels good. You'll hear stories, strategies, and mindset shifts from visionaries who are redefining success their own way, authentically, intentionally, and unapologetically. Because this isn't just about growing a business, it's about creating a legacy that lasts. So take a breath, grab your coffee, and let's unlock your purpose together. Today, we're talking about gratitude for the moments that wrecked our plans and how those moments, as painful as they were, might have been the most important teachers we've ever had. Because sometimes gratitude isn't a smile. It's not a perfectly captioned post or a silver lining. Sometimes gratitude is a sigh, the deep exhale after surviving something that could have broken you. It's a quiet whisper that says, I'm still here, and that's enough. So I'm going to share something personal with you, and it's something that in the past I've talked about a little bit more. I haven't really talked about it as often recently, but for the past 16 months or so, I was kind of deep into a health journey, and it's been quite an experience for me, but it's the kind of chapter that in your life where, you kind of get stripped down, your, body, mind, ego, everything like that. It just takes such a beating and you just don't have any choice but to listen. It was one of those points. And so that kind of slowed me down in some ways. Yes, I still, have my business. Yes, I still released a book. Yes, I'm still building. There are things that are still happening behind the scenes and that did happen. But the slowdown and the pausing, it wasn't because I wanted to. I had to pause because my body said, enough. Like, I'm done. We can't keep doing this. So, um, all of that to say, I am feeling better. I'm doing better. I'm in a much better place. But here's the point that I want to get to with you guys is when I started feeling more like myself, I started having energy. I was like, yes, I can do it. I can go now. Like, I'm not tired. I'm not wore out. Like, I've got this. That is when old patterns kicked in, right? And I sprinted as fast as I possibly could. I overbooked my calendar. I planned out all of these things. I was even planning into the future. And I had this like mindset where I was trying to make up for lost time, as if all of that time that I had spent resting, for lack of a better word, was a mistake that I needed to fix. Right. And so I'm sitting here and planning out my goals for the next 5 years. I'm like, I've got to get all of this ready for, the planner that I've got to put together for myself. And I've got to go and I've got to go. And I looked at it one day and I was completely exhausted and I was overwhelmed by what I had put down on paper and what I was planning in my head that hadn't even gotten down onto paper. And I just had to say to myself, like, this pace that I'm looking at doesn't honor the healing that needs to happen. right? And I had to feel that into my bones. And I know that it was love disguised as truth. And I had a little heart to heart with myself, a little cry session, and wasn't necessarily from like guilt about it. It was just from that recognition. But it was a good thing for me to learn, and it was a good thing for me to, like, I guess, revisit. This isn't like, again, this isn't new stuff I've been through before, but, gratitude isn't necessarily about being thankful for all the pain and the exhaustion and all of that that I went through. It's the being thankful that I, I I'm through it, right? I'm through that phase. I made it. So that's a little bit of a shift that we kind of sometimes need to think about, especially when that lesson is somewhat painful or it was hard or whatever it happens to be. It's that making that through. Like you have accomplished something by making it through it. And the gratitude that comes from that, right? And I have to relearn it. I'm constantly having to relearn how to move at a speed that's right for me. With my long health issues, there's sometimes I can go really hard, really fast, and there's other times I just have to slow down. And so there's that constant learning curve, and that happens to all of us, whether we have health issues like I do, or just life. Like I operated at a different pace when my child was younger than now he's an adult out on his own. And so we just have to listen to our own souls on that, right? And the gratitude that comes from that also helps me soften the edges of my ambition, right? And hearing that reminder to myself that healing isn't a detour, it's just part of the map, that's part of the road that I'm traveling, right? Ambition is beautiful. It fuels innovation, art, creation. It gets us out of bed in the morning. But when ambition loses its roots, not just for me, but for anybody, and it becomes disconnected from alignment, it can turn into something else. And for me, it feels like this hunger that never gets full, right? And so gratitude is that medicine that helps rebalance. It whispers things like, "You're not behind, you're becoming." It says, "I'm grateful for what this season is teaching me, even if it's not the lesson I asked for," right? Sometimes gratitude sounds like, "Thank you for slowing me down," or "Thank you for showing me what I needed to release." And in my work with entrepreneurs, I see this a lot, right? We chase growth because it feels safer than stillness, right? The real legacy work, the kind that lasts, happens in the pause. It's in the space between achievements where we learn to align our doing with our being. Ambition builds speed, but gratitude builds stamina. And alignment is what keeps both sustainable, right? We need the ambition, we need the gratitude, and that the alignment somewhere in there is what keeps them both sustainable. And there's plenty of case studies out there. One of them that I've seen is Adriana Huffington. So at the height of her success, when the world saw her as unstoppable, she collapsed from exhaustion, like literally collapsed, right? And that moment became a turning point. It forced her to question everything. What does success mean if it costs your well being, your presence, your peace? And out of that breaking came Thrive Global, a company built not on the myth of do more, but on the truth of be well. So she turned her pain into purpose, and her gratitude became the compass. She said something once that that struck me, and it is we think burnout is the price we pay for success, but it's actually what prevents success. And so her story is proof that gratitude doesn't deny pain, it transforms it into wisdom. It doesn't erase what hurt you, it helps you compost it into growth. So the overall lesson here is the moments that break you open often plant the seeds of your next evolution, if you stay present long enough to harvest their lessons. Okay? And so here's what I've come to believe. And it's a practice, right? I'm not perfect every single day. None of us are. We're all human. But chaos isn't the enemy, right? That's why I'm a control person, right? I want everything planned out. I want it written down, right? But that chaos isn't my enemy. It's the compost. And every disruption, every this wasn't supposed to happen moment is rich with data, emotion, and possibility. And when we meet it with gratitude, we stop labeling it as failure and we start seeing it as feedback, right? So gratitude says, this wasn't easy, but it was necessary. This ending cleared space for what's meant to begin. And that's how sustainable legacies are built, not from perfection, but from integration. We learn to hold both the gratitude and the grief, the ambition and the rest, the light and the lesson. That's what wholeness looks like. That's what maturity and leadership feels like. So we're going to transition now to some reflection prompts for you. Okay. So, all right, pause. Take a slow, deep breath. You can grab a notebook. You can just listen and let the words sink in. You can do the exercises now. You can do them later, whatever works for you. All right. I have 4 of them for you. So, number 1 is, what lessons are you grateful for that came wrapped in discomfort, uncertainty, or loss? Number 2, who has lovingly called you back to your truth, even when it stung a little? And how can you honor them today? Number 3, what part of your business rhythm needs more grace, not grit? And number 4, how might your work deepen, not shrink, if you allowed yourself to move slower, to lead softer? Remember, gratitude doesn't sugarcoat, it sanctifies. It turns the mess into meaning. And I do have 4 action steps for you to help integrate some of this gratitude that we've been talking about. You can do them today, you can do it tomorrow, you can do them next week. You can put them in your journal and do them later, whatever works for you. The first action step is write a thank you chaos letter, right? Think of a season that tested you. Maybe it's a launch that failed, a relationship that shifted, a project that demanded too much, whatever it is. Write it a letter. And in that letter, thank it for what it revealed, what it stripped away, and what it helped you rebuild. Action step number 2, set a boundary that honors your healing. Maybe it's saying no to a project that doesn't align. Maybe it's taking one afternoon each week off to rest, create, or just be. Boundaries are gratitude in action. They say, I'm grateful enough for this body, this life, this vision to protect it. Action step number 3. Thank a truth teller. Reach out to someone who's loved you with honesty, not flattery. Send them a message, a card, or a voice note that says, "You saw me clearly, and I'm better for it." And action step number 4, create a ritual of release. If you're ready, light a candle, step outside, however you want to do your release ceremony, and say out loud, I'm grateful for what this season has taught me. I release what's heavy and I make room for what's next. Sometimes the most powerful gratitude isn't a list, it's a letting go. Gratitude doesn't gloss over pain, it gives purpose. It turns endings into openings. And it reminds us that even when the path feels uncertain, we are still becoming, beautifully, imperfectly, intentionally. Thank your chaos, friend. It's part of your becoming. And I'm so, so grateful you're walking this journey with me. Thank you for tuning in to Purpose Unlocked. I'm so glad you're here. Every time you press play, you're choosing to invest in your growth, your purpose, and the legacy you're meant to create. That matters. If something in today's episode resonated, take a moment to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because when one of us rises, we all rise. And if you haven't already, hit follow, leave a review, or share your biggest takeaway on social. I love hearing what's landing for you. Remember, you weren't made to blend in. You were made to lead, to create, and to build something that lasts. So take what you've learned today, trust your intuition, and make bold moves towards your purpose. I'm Christy Smith, your anti-cookie cutter coach and sustainable legacy builder, reminding you that your dream isn't just possible, it's waiting for you to claim it. Let's keep unlocking purpose together.